Hey, Coach Melissa, I just read your article about my why, and I was wondering if you could give us a brief summary of it.
Yes, I wrote that article to talk about the three types of movement seekers. First of all, and this is your goal that you're trying, why are you spending time and money pursuing sports and movement? Some people are, their primary goals are competitive in nature. So they're going to be seeking out a coach, someone to lead them, someone to help them be the best. They're going to have a season with a start date and an end date and a pinnacle at the end of that season that they're reaching toward. And it could be a competition that they have to qualify for or something of that nature. And they're going to have everybody under that coach is going to have a team identity, and they're going to have things associated with that, like policies and procedures that they do together as a team, traditions, a history together, matching uniforms, that sort of thing. Then you have somebody who's more of a physical education student. This is the second type of movement seeker. And this person is looking to learn about their body and how movement makes them healthier, both physically, spiritually, emotionally. And so they're sitting in a classroom setting. There's not necessarily a team identity. There's a beginning and an end to the class. Once the material is learned, the class is over. But there's not necessarily a pinnacle or end competition at the end of that. And then the third type of movement seeker is probably what most people would fall into throughout their entire lives, and that's just a recreational player. And this is just somebody who is looking to move because it's an outlet. It's something to help keep them in shape. It's something to help keep them engaged with other people, to create a social network. And so this doesn't necessarily have a team identity, doesn't necessarily have a coach that they're following, doesn't necessarily have even a pinnacle event that they're training for, a start date and end date. It's something that they just do throughout their life, and not necessarily any structured team practices or anything like that, but just more like, hey, today I have time and I feel like bike riding, so I'm going to go ride my bike. Tomorrow I might jog a little bit. The next day I'm doing a pickup basketball game with whoever shows up at the court.
So, why do you run?
What is my why? I started running a long time ago, and I was, to start out with, I was fanatical about basketball. And my basketball coach, I love basketball every bit as much as I love running now. And my basketball coach said, well, if you really want to be good at basketball, you need to come out and run the mile for me. And now that I'm a coach, I know that that was just like a recruiting tactic there. But when I told my dad that I was going to be running the mile and track, or that I was going to try out for it, he challenged me to a race. We raced, just marked out, 50 meters or so in front of our house in the road. He creamed me. And I said, but I'm not going to run sprints. I'm going to run distance. So he said, okay, tomorrow morning we'll go up to the track and we'll race, and we'll race a mile. So we did that. He beat me, at the very end by just a few, I stayed neck and neck with him, and then he sprinted ahead at the end. But that just lit this competitive fire inside of me. And so I love competing. That is probably the first thing that I'm shooting for, is running in a competitive sense. And then secondly, running is a huge physical and emotional outlet. It's my time with God, and it's time when I can think quietly. It helps me just feel good, and it helps me have the energy that I need to do all the things that I do. So it's a very integral part of my life.
So, why do you make your kids run?
My why for putting my kids in sports is, first of all, I believe that they need that. I want them to have that same outlet. Running specifically, and hiking, backpacking is actually one of my favorite things to do, but it's not accessible on a daily basis. But I want my kids to have that same outlet all throughout their lives. I want them to have access to that same impact, and I want them to know how to do it in such a way that it makes them feel better, it gives them more energy, they stay healthy, and they can continue doing it throughout their entire lives. So my first goal for them is to learn the physical education part of it, to have movement literacy. And then as the older kids that already have that really solid foundation of movement literacy, I really want them to have all the lessons that come through competitive athletics. And learning that drive, learning how to set a goal, learning how to get unstuck when you choke, when you get in some kind of narrow internal focus, learning how to work with a team. All of those things, learning how to hold back when it's time to hold back and to push when it's time to push. Those are all lessons that they're learning through sport, and then learning in that competitive team environment. All of my kids are developing relationships, and those relationships are iron sharpening iron. These are all people who love and serve the Lord and who are encouraging each other in their Christian walk. And so that's a really important, that's the social aspect of it that's vital.
Right. And then, excuse me, why do you coach?
I coach because I have enjoyed this. Just like with my kids, I have enjoyed all the benefits. And it's almost like an impulse. If I'm around somebody for more than a few minutes, I'm probably going to invite them to come run, to take a walk, or to do something like that. Or, when they're talking about their aches and pains, like, I know what can help you. And so I have just almost this like instinct to share that information and to share that time and that gift with people. And so that's kind of the start of it. And then also, I'm walking through this process, I've recognized that I also have, since I have so much experience, over 25 years of running at every level from, junior high to collegiate, and then I also, and then running distances beyond that. I've raced in every different distance from 4x1 to 100 miles, almost all the distances in between, at some level, at some point. And then so just having this educational background also, I can take a lot of the information that's out there in the scientific community and can process it in a way and give it to my fellow parents. Because as it is, as parents, we're getting a lot of our information from sports equipment manufacturers and club type coaches that don't necessarily have the child's best interest in mind or the family's well-being in mind. And so that is also another part of my story, my experience, is that I have been homeschooling my kids for 17, almost 18 years, and we've developed this family dynamic, and I recognize how important relationship is and how important time together is, and shared activity, shared struggle, shared adventure. And so I recognize how that plays in with sports and the family. And right now, a lot of the things that parents believe about their kids in sports is actually keeping the family in bondage to sports myths that are not benefiting the family, not benefiting the athlete, and that are actually tearing at the fabric of that and taking the family away from its purpose.
Well, that was all very interesting. Thank you for coming and talking with me, and I hope to talk to you about this again.
Okay, thank you.